How to build value that pays you back. Focus on assets, not appearance. You've been taught to look rich, not to be rich. You've been praised for looking good, not for building anything that lasts. But deep down, you know, looks fade, applause fades. But assets? Assets pay you back. So today, we shift everything. Today, you stop performing and you start building. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror, dressed in your best, and still felt empty? You got the watch, the shoes, the lashes, the flex. But when the bills hit, or the business crashes, or the silence gets loud, what value do you actually own? I used to chase appearance too. The latest trends, the biggest phone, the flashiest lifestyle I could barely afford. Not because I had it like that, but because I wanted to look like I did. I was broke, mentally drained, financially fragile, and emotionally bankrupt, but I looked amazing doing it. Until life humbled me. The rent was due. My credit card screamed. I had zero ownership, zero peace, and zero leverage. And for what? So strangers could double tap a photo and forget me 5 seconds later? Let me tell you something that changed my life. Assets whisper, but they never stop paying you. They don't need to shine. They don't need to shout. But when life gets hard, assets speak for you. A rental property doesn't care if you're trending. A stock portfolio doesn't need filters. Skills you mastered at midnight will serve you when the spotlight's gone. But it took pain to learn that. It took losing what looked good to find what was good. And now, I want to help you skip the suffering. I want to help you build what pays you back. This isn't about money alone. This is about how you've been conditioned to seek validation instead of ownership, to hustle for applause instead of legacy, to be seen but never secure. And I know why. Because society profits off your insecurity. They want you to spend every dime trying to impress. They want you distracted, consuming, flexing. Because a distracted mind is easy to sell to, but not anymore. Now, you focus on value, because when you start valuing yourself, not by how you look, but by what you own, what you build, and what you know, the world starts to shift. You stop chasing likes and start chasing leverage. You stop reacting to life and start controlling it. I'm not saying you can't look good. Look amazing. Express yourself. Show up proud, but never trade your foundation for decoration. Never let your need to look rich outweigh your ability to become rich. Because one feeds your ego, the other feeds your children. This audiobook is not for everyone. It's for the one who's tired of pretending, tired of waiting, tired of being the best-dressed person with the worst financial plan. It's for the one who knows there's something deeper I need to be building, something that gives back, something that lasts. Over the next 13 chapters, we're going to shift your mindset from flash to foundation, from wasting money on what fades to investing in what pays forever. We'll talk how to see yourself as the asset, how to build skills that multiply, how to protect your energy like currency, and how to develop a life portfolio that earns in peace, not pressure. We'll rewrite the script society gave you. We'll silence the lies that say, if you don't look like success, you aren't it. Because let me tell you right now, you are success in seed form. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need applause to evolve. You just need to plant what pays you back. And that journey, it starts now. Before we begin, let me ask you something. When the lights go off, the noise kept down, and you're left with your thoughts, what real value do you hold? What is building while you sleep? What is working for you when you're not? If your answer is silence, that's okay. Because by the end of this audiobook, you'll have answers. And better than that, you'll have assets. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You are the first asset. Build the person before the portfolio. Let's start with this truth. You are the first asset you will ever own. Before the stocks, before the business, before the real estate or the digital empire, it's you, your mindset, your habits, your discipline, your ability to delay pleasure and pursue purpose. That's the foundation of everything you'll ever build. You see, we've been sold a backwards dream. They tell us to get the bag, but never how to build the hands that can keep it. They say, chase the money, but never protect your mind, or master your time, or control your emotions. But here's what life taught me. You can inherit $1 million business and lose it in a month if you've never learned how to manage yourself. You can win the lottery and go broke in 6 months if you never learn discipline. That's why I say, you are the first investment. And until you upgrade you, nothing else will hold. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who bought his dream car, a sleek black luxury coupe. He parked it in front of his apartment every night. He cleaned it weekly. He polished the tires, posted it all over social media. Everyone thought he was successful. But the truth? He was months behind on rent. He had no emergency fund. He didn't even have insurance. And one night, he came outside, and the car was gone. Repo. He stood in the parking lot. No keys, no cushion, no plan. Why? Because he built his image before he built his inner world. Now, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to tell you what I wish someone had told me years ago. That the most valuable skill you'll ever develop is discipline. Not charm, not style, not popularity. Discipline. The ability to show up even when nobody's watching. The ability to say no to quick pleasure for long-term peace. The ability to read one more page, wake up 1 hour earlier, say no to that impulse buy. That's value. That's asset-building behavior. And the good news? You don't need $1 million to start. You don't need followers. You don't need permission. You just need the decision. You are your first business, your first home, your first bank account, your first asset. So treat yourself like one. What do I mean? Feed your mind with knowledge, not nonsense. Fuel your body, not just your cravings. Guard your circle like it's your credit score. Track your time like it's your income, because it is. Every hour you waste is compounding against you. Every skill you build is compounding for you. So which direction are you compounding? Let's make it practical. Assets grow with attention. So if you are the first asset, ask yourself, what am I giving myself daily? Am I feeding myself purpose or just distractions? Am I investing in books, courses, sleep, nutrition, goals? Or am I overdosing on junk, comparison, and scrolling? Let me be blunt. You cannot build long-term wealth on a short-term mindset. You can't. Your brain is your operating system. Your habits are your coding. And if the software is outdated, the system crashes. So it's time for an upgrade. Here's what I did to change my life. I stopped trying to look busy, and I got serious about structure. I built a morning routine, not for aesthetics, but for clarity. I tracked my screen time like it was a budget. I fasted from gossip. I replaced envy with energy. I read books I once thought were boring and found blueprints for freedom. It didn't happen overnight, but every day I built. Something inside me grew stronger, and the more I improved, the better my results became. Not because the world changed, but because I did. You are the asset, and like any asset, you must be developed, protected, valued, and respected. Stop selling yourself short for claps and compliments. Start investing in your stamina, your patience, your skill set. Because when you show up with value, not just looks, the world starts to treat you differently. People respect substance. They remember depth, and they pay for excellence. So ask yourself this. What is one thing I can do this week to improve my personal value? Not what can I buy, but what can I build in myself? A skill? A routine? A book finished? A boundary enforced? Write it down. Commit to it. That's how assets grow. Metaphor time. Imagine you're a tree. The leaves? That's your appearance. But the roots? That's your mindset. When the storms come, and they will, what keeps you standing? It's not how pretty the leaves are. It's how deep the roots go. This chapter is about building roots. Because when you grow from within, the fruits will always come. Reflection questions. If I treated myself like a valuable asset, what would I do differently this week? What habits have been silently subtracting from my value? Where in my life am I chasing appearance over actual growth? What would my daily routine look like if I prioritized long-term returns? So remember, before the money, before the assets, before the passive income and the real estate dreams, you are the first asset. Build you. Because once you do, everything else will follow. Let's keep going. Chapter 2. Stop flexing. Start planting. Build seeds that grow in silence. Let me say this. Loud success doesn't mean deep success. And too many people today are chasing noise. Instead of growth, they're obsessed with showing the results, but allergic to the process. We live in a world that rewards the flex, but ignores the root, the car, the trips, the followers, the designer labels, the loud lifestyle. But here's the raw truth. If it doesn't grow when it's silent, it will never survive when it's loud. I had to learn that the hard way. There was a time when I was so focused on being seen that I forgot to sow. I spent hours creating the perfect posts, but no time creating the perfect plans. I bought shoes that cost more than my bank balance, but never invested in a course that could teach me how to make money while I sleep. I was loud online, but broke in real life, because I was flexing, not planting. But real wealth? It grows in private. It looks boring at first, unimpressive, unseen. It's waking up early while others sleep. It's skipping parties to work on skills. It's saying no to short-term validation, so you can say yes to long-term freedom. And nobody claps for it. Nobody celebrates it. Nobody reposts it. But one day, that small seed becomes an oak tree. Let me give you a visual. Imagine a farmer standing in a dusty field. No one's watching, no camera, no applause. Just him, a bag of seeds, and a shovel. He plants quietly. He waters. He waits. Days go by. Nothing. Weeks. Still nothing. People drive by and laugh. Look at him wasting time. But months later, a green sprout breaks through the soil. Then another. And another. And the same people who mocked him, now they want a piece of the harvest. Why? Because results always reveal roots. But most people won't wait for the sprout. They'd rather rent the fruit than grow the tree. And I don't blame them. We live in a culture of urgency. Everyone wants now. Fast money, fast likes, fast success. But that kind of wealth, it doesn't last. Because it wasn't planted. It was borrowed. And borrowed success always comes with interest. But when you plant, you own your results. You earn your transformation. And nobody can take that from you. Let me ask you, what are you planting today? Not what you're showing, but what you're really building. What systems? What skills? What streams of income? What are you feeding your future? Because if you're not planting now, you're going to be begging later. I once met a woman in her late 40s. She told me, I spent the best years of my life looking successful. Designer bags, luxury hair, Instagram perfect vacations, but no assets, no investments, no ownership. She looked me in the eye and said, I wish I spent more time planting than performing. That hit me hard, because now she was starting over from scratch. No roots, no foundation, just regrets. And if that sounds like you, it's okay, because now you know better. And when you know better, you plant better. So what does planting actually look like? It looks like spending 30 minutes a day learning a skill, even if no one sees it. Setting aside money for your emergency fund, even if it means skipping takeout. Starting that side hustle, even if it makes only $20 a week at first. Saying no to toxic distractions, even if it costs you followers or friends. It's not glamorous, but it's growth. Here's what I started doing when I got serious about my life. I deleted apps that stole my focus. I tracked where my money actually went. I read instead of scrolling. I replaced entertainment with education, just 1 hour a day. At first, it felt slow, quiet, pointless. But 1 year later, I had real skills, real savings, real clarity. And the same people who used to lol at me, now they DM me for advice. Why? Because I stopped flexing and I started planting. Let me ask you some real questions. What would your life look like 1 year from now? If you planted something every day? What would happen if you invested 1 hour daily into something that builds you? Would you still be broke? Still chasing? Still flexing for approval? Or would you be harvesting? Let me give you a metaphor. A flex is like fireworks. It's loud, it's exciting, but it disappears in seconds. A planted seed? It's slow, it's silent, but it turns into something permanent. Roots, branches, legacy. So the next time you feel the urge to flex, pause it. Ask yourself, am I chasing applause? Or am I building roots? Because only one pays you back. Reflection questions. What are you currently planting that will feed your future? Where in your life are you performing instead of preparing? What distractions are stealing your seed? What can you commit to building quietly for the next 6 months? So stop performing. Stop renting the image of success and start owning the process of becoming it. Because at the end of the day, the quietest seeds produce the loudest harvests. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. The currency of character. Why who you are pays more than what you wear. Let me ask you something real. What do people remember when you leave the room? Your outfit? Your shoes? Your designer watch? Or the energy you brought? The way you listened? The way you spoke truth? The way you made people feel? Because I'll tell you this, stool turns heads, but character turns hearts. And when it comes to building a life that pays you back, character is the currency. We've been lied to, told that your worth is in your wardrobe, that your power is in your presentation, that as long as you look like success, you are it. But here's what I've learned. You can wear a $1,000 suit and still be broke in your habits. You can drive a $50,000 car and still carry a poverty mindset. You can smile in public and suffer in silence, because appearance is rented, but character is earned. Character is what you do when no one's watching. It's how you show up when no one's clapping. It's how you treat people who can do nothing for you. And guess what? That's what pays off long term. Character is the reason someone calls you back for a deal. Character is why you get recommended. Character is why doors open when others are locked out. I remember one day, I was in a room full of wealthy people. Everywhere I looked status, glam, perfection. But the person who owned the building, he walked in quietly. No flash, no designer label, no noise. But when he spoke, everyone listened. Why? Because his name carried weight. His word meant something. His reputation preceded him. And that's when I realized real value is never loud. It's respected. And that respect, it's rooted in character. Let me say this again. Who you are will take you further than what you wear. Because when people trust your name, they'll trust your product. When they trust your energy, they'll follow your vision. When they trust your integrity, they'll invest in your future. So if you want to build a life that pays you back, invest in your name. Make it heavy. Make it clean. Make it undeniable. That doesn't mean perfection. It means honesty, consistency, self-respect. It means showing up with values that don't bend for convenience. It means choosing your principles over popularity. I know it's tempting to chase quick wins, to blend in, to do what sells. But remember this, trendy fades, trust compounds. The person you are becoming is your greatest advertisement. And trust me, the market can feel it. People buy from people. People follow people. People open doors for people they believe in. You want to make money? Build your character first. Because you can fake your image, but you can't fake your energy. And in a noisy world, energy is the real currency. Let me get practical. Character shows up when you return the card at the grocery store, even if no one's watching. You keep your word, even when it's inconvenient. You say no to quick profits if it means compromising your soul. You admit when you're wrong without shame. You respect people who can't benefit you just because it's the right thing to do. That's character. And every time you choose it, you build value Value that speaks when you're not in the room. Let me paint a picture. Imagine your name is like a credit score. Every honest action adds points. Every broken promise subtracts. And one day, you'll walk into a room where someone's already checked your score. Not your fashion, not your followers, your reputation. So the question is, are you investable? Because the best rooms aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for integrity. Let me tell you about a man I knew. He didn't graduate from college, didn't have the best clothes, didn't speak loud, but every client he worked with trusted him like family. Why? Because he delivered. He showed up on time. He never overpromised. He handled mistakes with grace. And over time, that trust turned into contracts. That trust turned into referrals. That trust turned into wealth. Because people pay for peace of mind, and character is peace in human form. Reflection questions. What does my name say when I'm not in the room? Where in my life have I traded character for quick gains? What habits do I need to adopt to become more trustworthy? Am I living for applause or for alignment? Let me say it plainly. The world is full of people who look rich, but are morally bankrupt. Don't be one of them. Be the kind of person people remember for your honor, not just your aesthetic. Because when the lights go off, your clothes won't speak for you. Your bank account won't speak for you, but your character will echo for generations. So build the asset no one can steal. Grow the currency no one can counterfeit. Develop the version of you that holds value no matter the setting. Because in the end, character is the brand that never goes out of style. Chapter 4. Master the boring. Wealth grows in what most people avoid. Let me tell you a secret that wealthy people will never put in a viral tweet. Success is boring. Wealth is boring. Discipline is boring. Consistency is boring. But you know what's even more boring? Buying stuck, struggling, chasing, explaining to your kids why you can't afford a vacation. Again. So yes, the grind is boring, but so is regret. And I had to choose. Suffer through boredom or suffer through lack. Say, most people never get rich. Not because they aren't smart, not because they're lazy, but because they get bored with the process. They want excitement. They want novelty. They want dopamine every time they work. And when they don't get it, they quit. They jump ship. Start over. Chase the next shiny thing. But here's the truth. The treasure is buried under the boring. Want to know where wealth hides? It hides in making a budget every single month, even when it feels repetitive. Saying no to impulse buys over and over and over again. Showing up for that small business when it feels like nobody's buying. Reinvesting your earnings instead of celebrating too early. Tracking your progress even when growth is slow. It's not flashy. It's not trending. But that's where the compound effect kicks in. That's where the real magic happens. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine started investing just $50 a week. He was mocked, laughed at. People said, "You can't build anything with that." But he ignored them. Every Friday, no matter what, $50. For 1 year, then 2, then 5. He stayed consistent. Today, his portfolio is worth over $100,000. Not because he found a magic stock, but because he mastered the boring. Now let's flip the story. Another guy I know, always jumping on trends. Crypto today, Forex tomorrow, dropshipping on Monday, real estate on Thursday. Excitement every day, but no depth, no mastery, no roots. Years later, guess what? Still broke. Because excitement without execution is just noise. If you want to build real value, value that pays you back, you must fall in love with repetition. Let me say that again, slowly. Fall in love with repetition. Because repetition is the engine behind results. You don't get abs by doing 100 crunches once. You get them by doing 10 every single day. Same with wealth. You don't get rich from one viral win. You get rich from boring habits, stacked over time. So here's a question. What boring thing have you been avoiding that could change your life if you just committed? Is it waking up early? Writing your daily goals? Meal prepping? Reading instead of watching? Let me be clear. This is not about perfection. It's about commitment. It's about showing up, especially when it's not exciting, because anyone can be consistent when they're motivated. But the ones who win are consistent when they're bored. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine wealth like a garden. Day 1, you plant. Nothing happens. Day 5, you water. Still nothing. Day 10, you start thinking maybe you're wasting time. But under the soil, roots are forming. You can't see them, but they're there. And one day, a sprout breaks through. Then a leaf. Then fruit. But none of that happens if you quit before the roots take hold. So what does that mean for you? Keep watering. Keep showing up, even when it's boring. Let me tell you what I did when my life felt stuck. I created a boring morning routine. Same alarm, same journal, same affirmations, same 10-minute walk. And after 90 days, my clarity improved. My energy came back. My finances started shifting. Not because of one big move, but because I mastered the small ones. And once I mastered boring, everything else got better. So here's the $1 million mindset. Boredom is not a signal to quit. It's a signal to dig deeper, to double down, to lock in. Because what you do in boredom, that's what builds your breakthrough. Reflection questions. What boring habit have I been avoiding that I know would improve my life? Where in my routine am I chasing novelty instead of mastery? How can I make repetition a part of my identity? What long-term goal am I sabotaging by quitting too soon? Here's your challenge this week. Pick one boring habit, just one, and do it every single day for the next 7 days, no exceptions. It could be journaling, stretching, saving a fixed amount, reading 10 pages. Track it. Feel the shift. Then ask yourself, what if I did this for a year? The answer? You'd become unrecognizable. So stop avoiding the boring, because the boring, that's where freedom lives. That's where wealth grows. That's where transformation begins. Chapter 5. Delayed looks, immediate leverage. Why smart people invest before they impress. Let me say this plainly. The people who look broke today are often the ones who are buying freedom tomorrow. And the ones who look rich right now are often paying for it with stress, loans, and a silent fear that it could all crash overnight. Because they impressed first and never invested. Let that sink in. You can either look rich now or be wealthy later. And the ones who win long-term, they delay the looks and chase the leverage. Because real winners know freedom, flex, and value isn't worn. Value is earned, accumulated, multiplied. Let me tell you a story. I once had a friend, let's call him Jay. Jay worked a regular job, nothing glamorous. He wore the same beat-up sneakers, drove an old Toyota, lived below his means. People laughed at him, said he wasn't living life. But what they didn't see? Jay was stacking assets. He was learning high-income skills online. He was building credit. He was investing, not flexing. Fast forward 5 years, Jay bought 2 properties, built an online business, no debt, and peace. The same people who mocked him, now they ask for mentorship. Now contrast that with another guy. I'll call him Dre. Dre always looked like money. Dripped out. New phone every year. Brunch every weekend. People followed him, admired him. But behind the scenes, maxed out cards, overdraft fees, no savings, no plan. And when life hit, and it always hits, he had nothing but his image. Let me give it to you straight. Image can't save you when reality knocks, but leverage can. And leverage, it comes from investing time, energy, and money into things that grow when you're not looking. It's owning skills that print income, assets that pay while you sleep, networks that open doors you couldn't buy access to. That's leverage. And you don't get it by impressing strangers. You get it by sacrificing now, so you can own later. But here's the problem. Ego. Ego whispers, don't be the only one at the table who's not flexing. Buy it now. You deserve it. Everyone else is posting wins. You should too. And if you're not grounded, you'll fall for it and spend your seeds just to look like you're harvesting. But you're smarter than that. You're not here to impress people who wouldn't loan you $20 if you were struggling. You're here to build. You're here to own. You're here to build a life where your bills are paid and your mind is clear. And that means delaying the look to secure the leverage. Let's get practical. Here's what delaying the look looks like. Wearing clean, simple clothes while building your emergency fund. Driving a reliable used car while stacking your investment portfolio. Saying no to that designer drop because your business needs that cash flow. Skipping the flex post because you're working on something real. It's not about deprivation. It's about direction. Where are you headed? Because if your money isn't working for you, then you're working for the look. And that gets exhausting real quick. Let me ask you something. Do you want to look like wealth or live like wealth? Because only one of those pays your rent. Only one gives you peace at night. Only one makes your future kids proud. And it's not the one that lives on Instagram. Here's a metaphor for you. Looking rich is like renting a Ferrari for a weekend. It's loud. It's flashy. It turns heads. But Monday morning, you return it. Back to reality. Back to the debt. Back to the grind. But real wealth? It's like owning a quiet, reliable engine that keeps going with or without applause. No rental. No pretending. Just results. Here's what I did. When I started making some money, I didn't buy a chain. I didn't upgrade my wardrobe. I didn't take luxury trips. I hired a coach. I bought equipment. I paid off debt. I built systems that would keep paying me long after the excitement wore off. It was quiet. No claps. No, "You're killing it" comments. But now, I don't worry about bills. I don't need to flex. I have options. And let me tell you something. Options are louder than outfits. So here's the challenge. For the next 12 months, invest before you impress. Let the flex wait. Let the drip wait. Let the applause wait. Focus on leverage. Because the flex fades. But freedom is forever. Reflection questions. Where have I been impressing people instead of investing in my future? What purchases can I delay this month to increase my leverage? Am I building ownership or just optics? What small, consistent investments will compound over the next 3 years? Let's recap. Smart people delay the look because they understand legacy, likes, leverage, luxury, freedom, flex. You don't need to be seen. You need to be strategic. Build your value quietly, consistently, relentlessly, because the time will come when the world will notice. And this time, it won't be because you're flexing. It'll be because you own everything in the room. Chapter 6. Build once, benefit forever, creating value that pays you in your sleep. Let's talk about one of the most powerful shifts you'll ever make. The shift from trading time to building assets. Because if you always have to be present to get paid, then your life will always be limited. Limited by your energy. Limited by your health. Limited by your hours. But when you start creating things that work without you, that's when life opens up. That's when you stop surviving and start scaling. Let me tell you the truth that changed my life. If you don't learn how to earn in your sleep, you will work until you die. And that shook me. Because I realized, no matter how hard I worked, if I stopped showing up, the income stopped too. That's not freedom. That's a trap dressed up as ambition. So I made a decision. I would build things once that would bless me for years. Not overnight, not with magic, but with strategy, discipline, and a vision bigger than the weekend. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine planting a fruit tree. You die. You water. You wait. For months, nothing. But then one day, fruit starts to grow. And the best part? You don't have to plant that tree again. You just harvest. Season after season. Benefit after benefit. That's what building once, benefiting forever really means. Let me get specific. Here's when I started building. I created a digital product and now it sells while I sleep. I learned how to invest, and my money earns more money, even when I'm offline. I automated my savings, so I grow wealth without even thinking. I built online content and it keeps reaching people long after I hit publish. It took effort. It took patience. But now, I get paid on yesterday's effort. That's leverage. That's value. And here's the wild thing. You can do the same. You don't need to be famous. You don't need a huge following. You don't need a degree in finance. You just need the willingness to build, to create systems, skills, and streams of income that flow even when you rest. Let me ask you something. If you stopped working today, for 1 month, would money still come in? Would your business survive? Would your investments pay out? Would your content still bring traffic? If not, that's not judgment. That's clarity. That's your wake-up call. Because the clock is ticking. And if you're not building assets, you're renting your life. Let's talk about some real-life assets you can build once and benefit from long-term: digital products, courses, ebooks, templates, training videos. Create it once. Sell it over and over again. Content. YouTube videos, blogs, newsletters, podcast episodes. One upload can pay dividends for years. Investments. Stocks, index funds, dividend portfolios. Let your money grow even when you sleep. Rental property. Acquire a property. Rent it. Watch it cash flow every month. High income skills. Once you learn to sell, to market, to lead, those skills pay you forever. Here's what you need to understand. The world rewards builders, not just doers, not just dreamers, builders, the people who create something bigger than themselves. Because when you build something real, you stop chasing money, and money starts chasing you. Let me tell you about a woman I met. Single mom, no savings, working 2 jobs. She had no time, no support, just a laptop and determination. So she started a blog. Late at night, 1 post at a time. Then she added a course, then an email list, then affiliate links. 1 year in, she made her first $500 while sleeping. 3 years later, she replaced both jobs and now travels with her son full-time. Why? Because she built once, and now she benefits forever. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're not too behind. But you do need to start. Start small. Start messy. Start scared. Just start. Because every day you delay is a day you could have been harvesting. Reflection questions. What value can I create once that will continue to serve others over time? What's one skill I can learn today that will benefit me for the next 10 years? Am I spending more time working for money or building things that earn for me? What can I automate, delegate, or systemize to free up time for asset creation? Here's your challenge this week. Pick one thing you can start building. Just one. Maybe it's writing 1 chapter of a book, recording 1 video, learning 1 new skill, starting a side hustle page. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be planted. Because the sooner you plant, the sooner you'll eat. Let's close this chapter with this truth. Build something that pays you back over and over and over again, so that one day your life becomes a harvest of peace, of freedom, of joy. And while others are still hustling for attention, you'll be resting in what you built, because you didn't just chase the dream, you created it. Chapter 7. The Peace Purchase. Why ownership feels better than applause. Let me ask you something. Have you ever chased something, applause, praise, recognition, and when you finally got it, it felt empty? The likes, the comments, the fire emojis, the fake "you're inspiring me" texts. It gives you a dopamine hit, but not peace. It gives you attention, but not ownership. Because applause is loud, but ownership is quiet. Applause is external. Ownership is internal. And when life gets loud, stressful, and uncertain, only one of them can protect your peace. Let me break it down. You can rent applause. You can buy attention, but you can't fake ownership. You either have the deed or you don't. You either own the rights or you're asking for permission. And that's why this chapter matters. Because we live in a time where everyone is performing. Everyone's curating, crafting, posing, flexing. But the one thing they can't filter? Peace. Peace doesn't come from aesthetics. It comes from alignment, from knowing, I own this, I built this, this is mine. That could be a business, a home, a bank account, a calm mind, a reputation that no one can touch. That's peace. And peace is the real flex. Let me tell you a story. A young man, stylish, charming, always on the scene. Every event, every launch, every dinner, he was the center of attention. But behind closed doors, he was drowning. In debt, in anxiety, in the need to constantly perform. One night, we sat down, just us. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Bro, I'm tired of chasing attention. I just want to rest. I want to own something. Something that doesn't need applause to keep living." That hit me hard, because so many people are living for the crowd, but dying in private. And then I met a different kind of man. Older, quiet, almost invisible. No social media, no designer clothes, no entourage, but he owned 5 properties, had 0 debt, funded scholarships for kids in his neighborhood. Peace radiated from him. He wasn't loud, because he didn't need to be. He had nothing to prove, because he had everything to protect. That is the peace purchase. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with applause. It feels good to be seen, to be celebrated, to be admired. But when you need that applause just to feel valuable, that's when it becomes dangerous. Because applause fades, but ownership stays. Here's what I've learned. If you don't own your life, someone else will rent it from you. If you don't own your schedule, your boss will. If you don't own your mindset, the algorithm will. If you don't own your income, your debt will. That's why you can't afford to keep performing for people who don't even remember your name tomorrow. So what does ownership look like? It looks like having savings that allow you to walk away from toxic places, having a schedule that you created, not one forced on you, building systems that earn for you, not just applause from strangers, saying no without guilt because your yes is expensive now. That's peace. That's power. That's real ownership. Let's go deeper. Imagine applause is like fireworks. It's big. It's beautiful. It lights up the night, but it disappears in seconds. Now, imagine ownership is like a fireplace. Quiet, consistent, warm. It may not wow the crowd, but it keeps you safe when it matters most. That's the difference. Let me ask you, what's louder in your life, the applause or the peace? Are you building for validation, off of ownership? Because every post, every purchase, every decision is shaping your path. And you must ask, does this give me power or does it give me pressure? Because ownership gives peace. But performance gives pressure. Let's make this practical. Here's how to move from applause to ownership. Build cash flow before clout. That means creating income streams, even if they're small, before chasing attention. Say no to trends. Own your lane. Stick to what builds you, not just what's viral. Make peace your metric. If it costs you your calm, it's too expensive. Protect your name. It's your greatest asset. Own it. Guard it. Let it compound. Reflection questions. What areas of my life am I still renting instead of owning? Where am I chasing applause instead of building peace? What small decision can I make today to increase long-term ownership? What does peace feel like to me and what's currently stealing it? Here's your challenge. Take inventory. Where are you loud but not leveraged? Where are you seen but still not secure? Then start making changes one decision at a time. Because you deserve more than likes. You deserve leverage. You deserve peace. You deserve to own your life. And the day you stop chasing applause is the day you finally find silence. And in that silence, you'll hear something you haven't heard in years. Your own voice. Strong, certain, free, because you no longer need validation. You own your worth. And that's the purchase of peace. Chapter 8. Your circle is an investment. Choose people who compound your value. Let me tell you something that changed my life. The people around you are either multiplying your value or slowly subtracting from it. There is no neutral in your circle. They're either lifting your standards or lowering your discipline. They're either feeding your purpose or starving your momentum. And if you don't choose your circle with intention, you'll inherit their mindset by default. You are not just managing your money. You are managing your energy, your beliefs, your influence. And your circle, that's the environment where all of that grows. Or D's. Let me put it this way. Your network is not just your net worth. It's your next worth. Your next level. your next breakthrough, your next mindset upgrade. It all depends on who's in your ear and who's in your way. Let me tell you a story. There was a time in my life when I had talent, ambition, potential, but no progress. Why? Because I was surrounded by people who clapped for my comfort zone. They didn't challenge me. They didn't inspire me. They were just available, not aligned. We talked about gossip, not goals. We bonded over struggle, not solutions. We celebrated distractions, not discipline. And every day I stayed in that circle. My growth slowed down. My confidence shrank. My future blurred. Until one day I asked myself, what if it's not me? What if it's them? And that question changed everything. I started auditing my circle like I would a bank account. I asked, who gives me energy? Who drains it? Who holds me accountable? Who keeps me small? Who would clap if I won, even if they didn't? Because truth is, not everyone around you is rooting for your expansion. Some are scared of it. Some are jealous of it. Some just don't see it, and that's just as dangerous. Because when you spend too much time with people who don't believe in growth, you start shrinking to fit their comfort. And that's not okay. Here's what I realized. Your circle is a portfolio, and every person is an investment. Some people, they appreciate over time. They pour into you. They show up when you're not trending. They challenge your small thinking. Those are high-yield people. They multiply your confidence, your habits, your identity. Other people, they depreciate you. Slowly, quietly, consistently. They question your dreams, mock your efforts, encourage mediocrity. And if you're not careful, they'll normalize the very things you're trying to escape. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine your life as a startup. Every person in your life is an investor. Some bring capital wisdom, accountability, encouragement. Others bring debt chaos, confusion, jealousy. Now let me ask you, would you let someone invest in your business who consistently drains it? Then why let them invest in your energy? I know it's not easy. Sometimes the people who subtract are the people you love, family, old friends, day ones. But growth isn't betrayal. It's survival. And if you want to build value that pays you back, you have to protect your environment. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to create distance. Love them, bless them, but stop letting them drive your destiny. Here's what I did when I got serious. I spent more time with people who made me uncomfortable in the right way. I joined rooms where I was the quietest person just to learn. I started tracking how I felt after every conversation. Did I feel focused or distracted, inspired or drained? Because my future is expensive and I can't afford cheap company. Let me ask you, who's speaking into your mind every day? Are they talking faith or fear, growth or gossip, strategy or struggle? Are they building you or keeping you busy? Because whether you notice or not, your circle is your mirror. If you look around and don't see the values you want, it's time to level up the reflection. Let's make it practical. Here's how to upgrade your circle without drama. Set boundaries with love. You don't owe anyone 24/7 access to your energy. Get in the room. Online groups, podcasts, masterminds, events. Find people who speak your future, not your fears. Be the person you want to meet. Show up with value, integrity, hunger. Your tribe will recognize you. Let the drift happen. Some people will fall off when you grow. Let them. That's not rejection. That's alignment. Reflection questions. Who in my life multiplies my mindset, and who minimizes it? What conversations am I having most, and are they building the future I want? Where have I been loyal to dysfunction out of fear of loneliness? Who do I need more of, and who do I need less of? Here's the truth. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if the room is filled with fear-based thinkers, you'll never launch your vision. You need people who speak strategy, not scarcity. Discipline, not distraction. Action, not just affirmation. That's how value compounds. That's how legacies are born. Not just by what you build, but by who you build it with. So audit your circle, update your access list, and choose people who water your seeds, not trample on them. Because your energy is expensive, And your future? Too valuable to be shared with people who can't carry it. Chapter 9. The Price of Convenience. How Comfort Zones Kill Compounding Growth. Let's not sugarcoat it. Comfort zones are where dreams go to die. They feel safe. They feel warm. They feel easy. But that ease, it's expensive. Because every day you choose comfort over challenge, you're paying with your potential. And the scary part? You may not even realize it until it's too late. Let me ask you something. What has convenience cost you? The convenience of sleeping in instead of developing your morning routine. The convenience of scrolling instead of studying. The convenience of staying quiet instead of speaking up for your vision. The convenience of not starting that idea. And now, you're behind on your own calling. I get it. Comfort feels good. That's the trick. That's how it lures you in. But just because something feels good now doesn't mean it's good for your future. Growth has a price, but so does comfort. And if you're not willing to pay for the growth, you're already paying for the comfort. Just look at your life. What has staying the same cost you? Momentum? Opportunities? Confidence? Connections? What would have changed by now if you chose discomfort with direction? Let me tell you a story. There was a season in my life when I avoided everything uncomfortable. Public speaking? Nope. New skills? Later. Difficult conversations? Avoided. I told myself, I'll start when I feel ready. But the truth? I was just protecting my ego. I didn't want to be bad at anything. I didn't want to feel awkward. I didn't want to fail in front of people. So I stayed in my little bubble. Familiar. Safe. Stuck. Until one day I realized comfort was costing me my calling. Because while I was playing it safe, someone with less talent than me, less resources, less support, was passing me. Not because they were better, but because they were braver. They stepped out, took the hit, grew through the pain. And I stayed in my comfort zone, thinking I had time. Let me say this loud. Comfort zones don't protect you. They delay you. They trick you into thinking you're safe, while life quietly moves on. And if you're not careful, you'll look up 10 years from now, still waiting, still dreaming, still stuck. And the pain of that? Worse than any discomfort you're afraid of right now. Here's the wild thing about growth. The things that feel scary now eventually become normal, but only if you step into them. The gym hurts at first. Then it becomes therapy. Reading feels boring at first. Then it becomes power. Posting your ideas feels awkward at first. Then it builds your brand. Every discomfort you face now is an investment in your ease later. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine two roads. One is smooth, short, and full of fun stops. The other is long, steep, and uphill. Most people choose the first one. Fast, comfortable, fun. But halfway through, it ends in a dead end. Now they're stuck. Meanwhile, the few who chose the hard path, they're sweating, struggling. But step by step they're rising. And at the top, freedom. Not because they're lucky, because they chose discomfort now to secure peace later. Let me ask you this. Where are you choosing comfort over compounding? Are you watching shows instead of building skills? Are you staying in a toxic environment because leaving is scary? Are you undercharging your worth because raising your price feels bold? Are you saying maybe later to the one decision that could change everything? Be honest with yourself, because truth is, you already know where growth is calling you. It's the thing you keep postponing, the thing that intimidates you, the thing that feels just a bit out of reach. And that's the direction to walk in. Here's what I did when I got tired of stagnation. I stopped waiting for motivation. I moved when I was tired. I started while I was scared. I applied while I felt unqualified. I practiced while I looked ridiculous. And every uncomfortable action built compound confidence. Every win, no matter how small, was a deposit into my value account. And now, what once terrified me is part of my daily routine because I traded comfort for compounding growth. Reflection questions. What has my comfort zone been silently costing me? What decision am I delaying because it feels scary even though I know it's right? What would happen if I faced discomfort consistently for the next 90 days? What's one bold action I can take this week to invest in my future? Let me close with this. Comfort is a thief in disguise. It steals your time. It steals your potential. It steals your urgency. But today, you take it back. You choose the hard thing, the scary step, the next uncomfortable but necessary move, because you're not here for average. You're here to grow, to own, to compound. And that only happens when you stop asking for comfort and start demanding progress. Chapter 10. The Asset of Discipline. Why Focus and Repetition Outperform Talent. Let me tell you a brutal truth. Talent is overrated. Discipline is underrated. Because the world doesn't pay you for what you could do. It pays you for what you consistently do. And if talent shows up once a month, but discipline shows up every single day, discipline wins. Every time. We all know someone who's gifted. They learn fast. They speak well. They shine in moments. But when you check in 6 months later, same spot. No growth. No execution. No consistency. Because talent without structure is potential with no profit. Now think about someone who isn't the most gifted, but they're relentless. They study daily. They show up early. They train. They fail. They adjust. And then they win. Not because they were lucky. Not because they were born brilliant. Because they were disciplined. And in the real world, that's what pays. Let me tell you a story. I knew a guy in school. He was naturally smart. Barely studied. Still got A's. Everyone praised him. Meanwhile, another kid not as sharp, didn't get it the first time, but showed up to every tutoring session, asked questions, practiced until midnight. Fast forward years later, the disciplined kid owns a thriving company. The naturally smart one is still figuring it out. Why? Because talent peaked early, but discipline kept rising. Let's be clear. Talent gives you a head start. But discipline determines if you finish. And the ones who build real value, they don't rely on mood. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems, habits, routines, boundaries, tracking. They know, if I do this enough times, success is inevitable. Let's break it down. Discipline is an asset because it protects your energy. You don't waste time on distractions. It multiplies your effort. Small actions, done daily, turn into big wins. It builds identity. You stop saying, I wish, and start living, I am. It creates results. Not all at once, but quietly, steadily, permanently. That's the compound interest of discipline. It's slow at first, then unstoppable. You want to be dangerous? Become the kind of person who does hard things on schedule. While others procrastinate, you act. While others overthink, you move. While others complain, you commit. Because the truth is, discipline is freedom, not rules, not restriction. Freedom. Freedom from fear, from chaos, from living paycheck to paycheck. Because when you control your mind, you control your future. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine talent as a flash of lightning. It's powerful. It's bright. But it disappears in seconds. Now imagine discipline as the rising sun. Slow, predictable, unstoppable. It rises every single day. And the warmth it brings feeds everything. Your health, your wealth, your relationships, your peace. Because discipline doesn't impress, it delivers. So what does discipline look like in real life? It looks like waking up when the alarm rings, not snoozing. Saying no to the impulse buy and investing instead. Writing one paragraph daily even when uninspired. Making that phone call even when anxious. Logging your expenses even when it's uncomfortable. These don't go viral, but they go deep. And over time, they pay you back in full. Here's what I did. I got serious about my daily non-negotiables. Move my body even if just a walk. Read something that grows me even 10 pages. Create something, a script, an idea, a strategy. Track my wins, no matter how small. Not every day was perfect, but every day was progress. And over time, my identity changed. I wasn't just trying to be disciplined. I was disciplined, and the world started responding. Reflection questions. Where in my life have I been relying on talent instead of discipline? What small habit could I commit to for the next 30 days no matter what? Am I letting emotions control my effort, or am I showing up regardless? What systems do I need to put in place to support the life I'm building? Let me speak this into you. You don't need to be the smartest, or the fastest, or the most naturally gifted. You just need to be the one who doesn't quit, the one who shows up, who practices, who sharpens, who sacrifices short-term ease for long-term excellence. Because in the end, the world doesn't just reward brilliance. It rewards discipline in motion. So build it like a muscle, one rep at a time, one habit at a time, one choice at a time. Because one day, you'll look around and realize you're not just surviving anymore. You've built something real. You've become someone solid. And you didn't get there on luck. You got there on discipline. Chapter 11. Stop impressing strangers. Start building legacy. Focus on what outlives you. Let me ask you something raw and real. If you were gone tomorrow, what would remain? Not what you wore, not what you posted, not how many likes you had, but what would outlive you? Would it be noise, or would it be legacy? See, most people spend their lives trying to impress people they don't know. People who wouldn't show up at their funeral. People who scroll past their pain. People who only see the highlight reel. And for what? For claps that don't convert. For comments that don't comfort. For attention that evaporates. Meanwhile, the real mission is waiting. The real legacy is calling. The real life is passing by. Let me tell you the truth that shook me. You don't get remembered for what you looked like. You get remembered for what you built, for what you gave, for who you raised, for what you left behind. That's legacy. And legacy doesn't care about aesthetics. Legacy is built in silence, in the sacrifices no one claps for, in the decisions that make no sense to the outside world, but change everything for those you love. I remember a moment that broke me. I was obsessing over my image, trying to get it just right. The look, the caption, the vibe. And then I got a call. A friend's father had passed. And do you know what they said at his funeral? Not a word about his car. Not a word about his clothes. Not a word about his lifestyle. They talked about his character, his consistency, how he paid a student's tuition in silence, how he raised a daughter who now runs a nonprofit, how he showed up for real life. That day I realized everything I was chasing was temporary, and everything that matters doesn't show up in your highlight reel. It shows up in who you impact. Let me say this slowly. Stop living for strangers. Start building for generations. Because your legacy doesn't begin when you die. It begins now with the choices you make. Every dollar you invest instead of waste. Every moment you spend teaching instead of performing. Every value you uphold when no one's watching. That's legacy in motion. Let's make it practical. Here's what legacy looks like in real life. Building assets your children won't have to recover from. Documenting lessons your future self can be proud of. Creating value, not just content. Mentoring someone who reminds you of your younger self. Living a life your family can inherit with pride. Not just material wealth, but mental wealth, spiritual wealth, emotional wealth. Because it's not just about what you leave for people. It's about what you leave in them. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine your life as a forest. Every decision you make, every boundary you set, every value you live out, that's a seed. You won't sit under every tree you plant, but someone will. A child, a friend, a stranger. And long after you're gone, they'll find shade under your sacrifice. That's legacy. But here's the problem. We're too distracted to plant seeds, too busy chasing visibility, trying to go viral, when we haven't even gone deep. But visibility without roots, that's a tree with no foundation. And when the storm comes, it collapses. Don't be that. Be rooted. Be intentional. Be legacy-driven. Here's what I started doing when I got tired of impressing strangers. I stopped over-explaining my dreams to people who didn't get it. I started building quietly. I wrote letters to my future children. I created systems that would run without me. I asked myself daily, would this matter in 50 years? And that one question started cutting through the noise. Let me ask you, what are you building right now that your great-grandkids could be proud of? And if your answer is silence, that's okay, because today, we change that. Today, you stop performing and start planting. Today, you stop chasing relevance and start building resonance. Today, you shift from me to we, from now to forever. Reflection questions. What would my eulogy say if it were written today? Where have I been living for applause instead of alignment? What am I leaving behind, not just in wealth, but in wisdom? Who will benefit from the work I'm doing long after I'm gone? Here's your challenge. Write a legacy statement, not a resume, not a brand bio, a legacy statement. Ask yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? What problems do I want to have solved? Who do I want to lift as I rise? Then take one step today, just one that moves you in that direction. Because it's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Let me close this chapter with this truth. Strangers forget fast, but legacy never fades. Your followers may move on, but your impact, that stays. In The Child Who Reads the Book, you wrote, in the life that shifts because you showed up, in the chain of courage that started because you went first. So don't live to impress people. Live to inspire eternity. Chapter 12. Cash Flow Over Clout. Why quiet money wins in the long run. Let's stop pretending. Clout doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't cover rent. It doesn't build wealth. It doesn't give you peace. You can have all the followers, all the fire emojis, all the hype, and still be financially fragile. Still one emergency away from chaos. Still looking successful, while silently drowning. Because here's the truth. Clout is loud, but cash flow is leverage. And in the long run, quiet money wins. Let me break it down for you. Clout is external. It lives on screens. It craves attention. But cash flow is internal. It lives in your life. It builds options. It buys your time back. And the people who are really free, they're not trying to go viral. They're trying to go unbothered. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy I used to follow online, millions of followers, always at luxury hotels, posting watches, traveling nonstop. He looked unstoppable. But behind the scenes, his business wasn't profitable. His income was up and down. He owed tens of thousands in taxes. It was clout with no cushion. And when the spotlight dimmed, so did his options. Now contrast that with another guy I know. No social media, no flash, no applause. But every month, money flows in from real estate, digital products, long-term investments. His lifestyle? Simple, peaceful, fully funded. That's cash flow, and that's freedom. Let me say this loud. Clout fades. Cash flow compounds. Clout makes you look rich. Cash flow makes you feel rich. Clout builds an image. Cash flow builds a foundation. And if you're serious about building value that pays you back, you have to shift from seeking attention to building assets. Let me ask you this. If Instagram shut down tomorrow, would your income survive? Would your business still function? Would your brand still hold weight? Would you still have leverage? If not, you've built a fragile system. And fragile things fall when the pressure hits. But cash flow? That's different. Cash flow keeps you calm. Cash flow lets you walk away from chaos. Cash flow gives you room to breathe. Let's talk about what real cash flow looks like. A digital course that sells while you sleep. A service you offer on retainer. An affiliate product that pays you monthly. A rental property that deposits rent on the first every single month. A YouTube channel that earns ad revenue long after you've stopped uploading. None of this is magic, but it's strategy. And most of all, it's intentional. Here's the thing. Clout is usually expensive. You buy things to impress people. You upgrade lifestyle before you upgrade infrastructure. You spend more on appearances than you do on education. That's backwards. Because every dollar you spend to look like success is a dollar you could have used to build success. Let me say it again. Cash flow buys time. Clout buys tension. And I'm not here for the tension. I'm here for the freedom. Let's make it practical. Here's how to start choosing cash flow over clout. Delay lifestyle upgrades. Put your first wins into assets, not aesthetics. Automate income. Look for ways to build systems that work when you don't. Value ownership over optics. Ask, will this pay me back or just make me look good? Stay financially humble. Even when the money starts coming in, don't blow it to prove a point. Because the loudest people usually have the least cushion, but the quiet ones, they sleep well. Here's what I did. I stopped buying things I couldn't afford to buy twice. I built digital assets, content, courses, emails that compound over time. I created a simple spreadsheet: income in, income out, income passive. I started measuring peace, not popularity. And over time, clarity replaced confusion. Profit replaced pressure. Stillness replaced stress. Because I wasn't chasing attention anymore. I was building cash flow. Let me give you a metaphor. Cloud is like firecrackers on New Year's Eve. Everyone looks. Everyone claps. Then it's gone. Cash flow? It's like a river. It keeps flowing, quietly, steadily, feeding everything around it. That's what you want. Because when your money moves without you, you're no longer a prisoner of performance. You're a master of peace. Reflection questions. Where in my life have I prioritized looking successful over being financially secure? What streams of income can I build that pay me without constant presence? Am I more focused on applause or automation? What would my life look like if I focused on building monthly cash flow instead of hype? Let me close with this. The goal is not to be famous. The goal is to be free. Free from the grind. Free from the noise. Free from the fear of what if. And the way to get there? Not by chasing clout, but by chasing cash flow. Because in 5 years, nobody will care what you wore. But you'll care whether you own your time, own your options, own your peace. And that starts today. Chapter 13. Value is a mindset. Why how you see yourself shapes what you attract. Let me say this slowly. Your value doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your mind. You can have the right strategies, the right goals, even the right connections. But if your mindset is rooted in lack, you'll sabotage every win. Because we don't attract what we want. We attract what we believe we are worthy of. You've probably heard it before. You teach people how to treat you, but let me add to that. You also teach the world how to reward you by how you value yourself. If you undercharge, people will underpay. If you downplay your voice, people will overlook your message. If you doubt your worth, the world will echo that doubt right back at you. This isn't just about self-esteem. It's about identity. Because your mind is a thermostat. And no matter how much external success you gain, if your internal setting is stuck on not enough, you'll reset back to what you believe you deserve. That's why people win the lottery and lose it all. Why people get opportunities and ruin them. Why people get love and push it away. It's not the thing that's broken. It's the belief. Let me ask you something real. Do you truly believe you are valuable? Not just when you win. Not just when you look good. Not just when people approve. But right now, in your rawness, in your progress, in your flaws. Because until you believe that, you'll keep playing small. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman with brilliant ideas. But every time she entered a room, she shrank. She'd second-guess her opinions. She'd avoid visibility. She'd apologize for simply taking up space. One day, someone asked her, "Why are you so quiet?" And she said, "I guess I just don't feel like I matter." That sentence crushed me because I saw myself in her. I saw the version of me that used to believe, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm too late, too average, too invisible. But let me tell you what I learned. You are not invisible. You're just underdeveloped. And value takes time to unfold. Think of a diamond. It doesn't start off shining. It starts off buried, covered, unseen. But it was always valuable. It just needed to be discovered, shaped, polished. Same with you. The value was never missing. It just hadn't been activated yet. And the activation starts with how you see yourself. Mindset is magnetic. If you believe you are a builder, you will. Build. If you believe you are a leader, you will lead. If you believe you are meant to create value, you'll stop looking for permission and start moving in purpose. Because value doesn't ask, it asserts. Let me be clear. This isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. About no longer settling for people, places, or prices that discount your worth. Because the moment you see yourself as an asset, everything shifts. You stop begging. You stop explaining. You stop waiting for someone to choose you. You realize, I've been the value all along. Let me give you a metaphor. Picture your mind as fertile ground. If you plant seeds of, I'm not enough, you'll harvest limitation. But if you plant seeds of, I am valuable, and I create value, you'll grow results that reflect that belief. You can't grow abundance in the soil of self-doubt. So you must replant daily, deliberately, ruthlessly, because what you believe in silence becomes what you attract in reality. Here's what I did to shift my value mindset. I wrote affirmations not just to feel good, but to reprogram. I raised my prices even when I was afraid. I stopped taking calls from people who didn't respect my time. I tracked my wins, even the smallest ones, to reinforce my value. Every day I reminded myself, I am an asset. I am not free. I am not desperate. I am not disposable. And the more I believed that, the more the world responded. Reflection questions. What are the 3 strongest beliefs I currently hold about my own value? Where in my life am I accepting less because I don't believe I deserve more? How would I behave this week if I believed I was a $1 million asset? What negative self-talk do I need to replace with truth and power? Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, speak your value out loud. Before the meeting, before the decision, before the email, before the mirror. Say it. Claim it. Then act like it. Because the world mirrors back the energy you send. Let me close with this. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be valued. And value starts from within. Not your looks, not your followers, not your income, but your inner economy. That quiet certainty that says, I don't chase value. I am value. And everywhere I go, I add it. So believe it, move like it, and build the life that matches it. Final conclusion. Take a breath. Let it sink in. You've just walked through 13 chapters, 13 reminders, 13 revelations, 13 moments of truth that could rebuild your life from the inside out. Now the question is, what will you do with it? You've heard the stories, felt the metaphors, sat face to face with the mirror of your own potential. And now, it's time to choose. Because change isn't about information. It's about activation. And nothing changes until you decide. I'm not living like this anymore. Not broken mindset. Not bankrupt in purpose. Not addicted to appearances. But rich in discipline, in direction, in value. So here we are. Just you and your next decision. Not a grand announcement. Not a viral moment. Just a quiet, private shift. Where you say to yourself, from now on, I focus on assets, not appearance. No more performing for strangers. No more buying to be seen. No more wasting time on things that don't pay you back. You're not here for show. You're here to build wealth, to build peace, to build character, to build a life that speaks when you're not in the room. And that begins today. Let me leave you with one last truth. Value doesn't come from what you own. It comes from what you honor daily. Honor your time. Honor your effort. Honor your vision. Honor your body. Honor your name. Because when you treat your life like an asset, it starts paying you back emotionally, spiritually, and yes, financially. So here's your challenge, your mission, your starting point. Take one idea from this audiobook, just one, and apply it today. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Not when you've got it all figured out. Today, even if it's small. Because small seeds become strong trees. And if you plant value now, you'll harvest peace for years. Let's recap what you've learned. You are the first asset. Plant before you perform. Character is currency. Discipline outlasts talent. Quiet money is louder than clout. Ownership brings peace. Your circle compounds your value. Comfort is costly. Legacy is louder than likes. Cash flow buys freedom, and your mindset determines your market. This isn't theory. This is strategy for your life. So what's next? You don't go back. You level up. You raise your standards. You protect your energy. You show up with intention. You stop living like time is free and start investing it like it's gold. And if this message resonated with you, if something shifted inside you, if you felt seen, called out, or called up, then do 3 things right now. Like this video, not for the algorithm, but to mark the moment the decision you made today. Subscribe to the channel, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of your journey toward wealth, discipline, and peace. And I'm building this with you. Watch the next video, because momentum matters. Don't let this be the end of your growth. Let it be the spark that lights your fire. And hey, I want you to remember this. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are becoming, one habit at a time, one chapter at a time, one powerful decision at a time. You are building a life that pays you back. And the world, it won't know what hit it. When you start moving in your full value, this is your time, your moment, your next level. So go, build your value, own your worth, protect your peace, and live the life your future self will thank you for. Because you're not chasing status anymore, you're building something real, something lasting, something free. And that's worth everything. Like, subscribe, watch next. Your next breakthrough might be one video away. See you there.